I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a sergeant, did 2 years overseas, including a combat tour in Vietnam. One of the things you learn in NCO school, the Marine Corps is mission, men, self, regardless of what it takes. That's the first thing you do. Everybody jumps for somebody else, or, you either jump for them or they jump for you. Well, that doesn't translate well into business. Thankfully, my wife was very much of a people person. I married her while I was in the Corps, and she broke me of some of that over the years.
Right. That's funny.
Small businesses very seldom get audited to start with. S corporations are audited less than 1% of the time. Okay. You have to get over several $1 million before you really get on their radar. So the chance of you being audited are slim, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. If you can't do it yourself, hire somebody that can. So you have the detailed records of what's happening, because that's your guide to whether you're successful or not.
Hey, family, this is the Thriveword journey. Look, life's too short to just get by, and 2025 is the year to persist. We're here to grow, build, and thrive. This podcast is all about powerful stories, real talk, and practical steps to help you level up in every area of your life. Now, if that sounds like something you need, don't just watch, be a part of the journey. Let us know you're here. Do us a favor. If you're listening on the podcast platform, download the episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. And as we always say, let's make thriving our new norm.
Yeah. Beat up, bullied, and dunked on. Beat up, bullied, and dunked on. Bullied and dunked on. Yeah. Let's get it.
So today we're diving into money, business, and IRS secrets with none other than Charles J. Reed, CPA, IRS insider, and veteran entrepreneur with 50 plus years of financial expertise, 400 plus media features, and a track record of helping business dodge IRS penalties, and master payroll. Charles is here to drop game-changing insights. And if you're an entrepreneur looking to keep more money in your pocket and avoid costly mistakes, this episode is for you. So let's just get into it. Avoid some costly mistakes and build some wealth with Charles Reed. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today, Charles?
Michael, excellent. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yes. I'm so glad you're here because this is, or as we're recording, this is tax season.
It is.
So it's good to have you on, and I'm so glad, especially for beginning entrepreneurs, new business owners, taxes is scary for people anyway, and especially for the new business owners. So we're going to dive into it. Before we get into it, you were in the military, and how did that experience shape like your world of leadership and business?
That's a very interesting question. I spent 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. I was a sergeant at the end, did 2 years overseas, including a combat tour in Vietnam. One of the things you learn in NCO school, the Marine Corps is mission, men, self. You accomplish the mission regardless of what it takes. That's the first thing you do. You accomplish the mission. Then you take care of your men. Then you take care of yourself. That translates very well to business. Get the job done, whatever it is. Our job is to provide perfect payroll on time, every time to our clients. We bend over backwards to do that. Whatever it takes, we put into it. Then I take care of my staff, my people, my clients. All that comes before me. If somebody doesn't get paid because we're short of cash, and in the beginning, every entrepreneur is, it's me. It's not my staff. If somebody needs time off and I have to work to make up for it, if they need it, they get it, and I make up the difference. Okay? It's mission, men, self, and that translates very, very well to business. Now, there are things that don't translate well. The Marine Corps, like all military, is very hierarchical. Everybody jumps for somebody else, or you either jump for them or they jump for you. Well, that doesn't translate well into business. Thankfully, my wife was very much of a people person.
No, not at all.
I married her while I was in the Corps, and she broke me of some of that over the years.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, you're right. So, you take from the military what you did learn, and you applied it to your business and to get payroll, your business, and we'll talk about that later. With 50 plus years, experience here, let's talk about let's just start off with the IRS. What's one of the things that beginning business owners should know about taxes and knowing about the IRS?
Okay, there's
The
a
most
couple.
important thing.
Most important thing is they're people. Okay, they're mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. They're people, but they are civil servants. They don't have the same
Mhm.
motivation that an entrepreneur has.
Yeah.
They put in their 40 hours a week, get their 30 days vacation, retire in 30 years. You can't fire them effectively. They don't have the same motivation. So the first thing you have to do is treat them like people. They're not, for the most part, they're good people. They're not nasty. They're not vindictive. They're not vicious. There's a few. Shit, you've got one in your family like that. So, it's nothing that you don't realize.
Right.
The next thing
That's just
is,
human.
yeah. The next thing is the IRS makes mistakes. Their systems are old and antiquated. They don't talk to each other. The silos are in different spots. They'll tell you that. They make millions of mistakes a year. So the fact that you get a nasty gram from them doesn't mean it's true. Okay, we abate
Mhm.
many, many mistakes every year. Pre-COVID, the IRS issued $13 billion in employment tax penalties. Billions of dollars were abated because they were wrong. So dealing with the IRS
Wow.
is appeal, keep talking to people, because sooner or later you'll probably find somebody that'll say, yeah, you're right. And it's over. So don't ever give up. Understand, the first letter, you get a letter from the IRS saying you owe this money. You send them a letter back saying, I don't know it. They don't read it. They send you back a form letter saying, no, we're not going to abate anything. That's the first thing. It's only on their third letter does somebody actually look at it. And it may take multiple levels of appeals to get somebody to actually talk to you about it and get into it and get into the details. If you get into collections, they don't care
Mhm.
whether you owe the money or not. As far as they're concerned, you owe it. They're never going to talk about the underlying facts. So once you get into collections, you have to go back to appeals or go to tax court or district court or whatever, because collections is a collections agency and doesn't care. Now, one very important thing for
Right.
your listeners to remember, the IRS cannot penalize you for a simple mistake, only for gross negligence.
Okay.
Now, the taxes, of course, if you make a mistake and the taxes are higher, you owe the taxes. But the penalties on that are only applicable if you are grossly negligent. The problem, of course, lies in who determines gross negligence. The IRS thinks they do. In fact,
Yeah.
the court determines gross negligence. So you appeal it, you take it to tax court if you need be, and the judge may look at it and go, that's not gross negligence. It's a simple mistake. Happens all the time. And if you go to tax court, 95% of all tax court cases are settled pre-court. They'll make you an offer no matter what, I promise you.
Mhm. What's an example of a gross negligence?
You just don't do it. That's gross negligence. Now, if you sent it off and it didn't get there, that happens. That's not your fault. The post office didn't
Mhm.
deliver it, or didn't deliver it timely, or the dog shredded it, or whatever. Those are mistakes. Gross negligence is not doing something, deliberately miscalculating, deliberately misrepresenting, deliberately not doing something. But if you make a mistake, if you added it wrong, if you multiplied it
Mhm.
wrong, if you sent it to the wrong address, these aren't gross negligence. Again, the IRS is going to argue with you. But the farther up the ladder you go, the more likely you are to find people who will be reasonable about it. Because at the lower levels now, the IRS will deny it. At the lower levels, they're measured on how much they collect and how many cases they settle, and they're encouraged to collect taxes.
Right.
And the IRS will say differently, and I understand that. They
Right.
can't admit that in public. But it's endemic, it's built into the system. So when you get out of that, and to people who are looking at the real case and not concerned about just shuffling them off, you're liable to get people who are more amenable to understanding what happened and why and so on.
Yeah, I'm glad you say it that way because, it kind of drops the veil of, the big scary IRS people to, hey, they're just people. They're people doing a job. They're civil service doing a job. and that's all they want to do is do the job and get it done.
When I talk to an agent,
What's one of the yeah, go ahead.
we have a little contention here. When I talk to an agent, the first thing I do is say, how's it going? How's your day? What's the weather like there? I will have conversations sometimes 10 or 15 minutes with an agent, just talking before we ever get to the case at hand. Well, in doing so, I've built a community of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're in New York. Well, my father came from New York years ago. God, it's snowing up there. It never snows down here. That's why I live down here in Texas. Just anything to develop camaraderie, community goes a long way, because people are yelling at them all the time. Don't yell at them. Don't scream at them. Don't
Right.
jump up and down. Because just imagine if somebody was doing that to you, your response would be,
Mm-hmm.
So be nice to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a real butt on the phone, disconnect, call back. You'll get somebody else.
You get somebody else. Yeah, that's the route. That's the way I would go too. Are there, like, we're talking about the taxes, and if the new guys in the entrepreneurship world, and you having the knowledge, are there any little known tax deductions that small businesses should really take advantage of?
Sure. There's a lot of them. There's some that are unknown. 45S is one. If you give your people time off for what would be an acceptable reason for family medical leave purposes, adoption, sickness of kids, family sickness, a number of other things, all the FMLA stuff, but you're not subject to it because you're not 50 people. If you give them time off for that and pay them,
Right now,
you can get a tax credit for up to 25% of what you pay them. And basically everybody gives time
Wow.
off. Sally's kid's sick, so you pay her for the day because she had to stay home. And that may be in your PTO policy, that she gets 2 weeks of PTO a year. Well, if she takes a day to take care of a sick kid, or because she's sick, you can get up to 25% of what you paid her back as a tax credit. So
That's wow. Okay,
that's
that
one.
is a secret.
I'm going to suggest that for all your listeners, if they will go to thepayrollbook.com and enter the discount code podcast, I will send them a copy of my newest book, which is The Payroll Book, a guide for small businesses and startups. Free of charge. No shipping, no handling. As long as supplies last, we'll ship them one free of charge. I'll pay the postage.
Thank you. That's really cool, and I'm sure that they'll take advantage of that, because I think I will. So you'll definitely be seeing my email in that there. Like, since you gave that, is there a strategy that businesses can use to reduce the chance of being audited, or is it just,
Well,
you just got to take it if it comes?
small businesses very seldom get audited to start with. S corporations are audited less than 1% of the time. Okay. You have to get over several $1 million before you really get on their radar. So the chance of you being audited are slim, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. Keep your record straight. Use a separate credit card for the business. Do everything by check or credit card. Record everything. Keep all your records. Keep them in a form that you can access and provide to an auditor. All these things they're good business. Keep track of your records, because your financials and your financial records guide you to where you're being successful and where you're not being, where you need to put your efforts and where you don't. It's extremely important that you know what's going on in your business in detail, because it will help guide you to make you more successful.
Yeah.
So that will solve the audit problems, because an auditor comes in and says, okay, you have these entertainment expenses, or you have these travel expenses. Show me. And so you can start going through them, and you say, okay, here's the mileage, here's the log, here's the first entry. It was such and such for such and such on such and such a date, so many miles, the business reason. The next one, the next one, the next one. After about 5 of them, he's going to quit asking. He's done, because he knows you keep good records. So he's not going to he's not going to look at everything, because it's a waste of his time. Once he knows that you have good, solid records on everything, the audit gets done very quickly. It's when they're spotty, and then there's personal stuff in there, and there's stuff that you can't document, and so on and so forth. That's when it becomes a problem. That is not to say that you shouldn't deduct things that you can't document. If it's a legitimate deduction, even if you can't prove it, go ahead and deduct it on your tax return. You may lose it on audit, but your chance of being audited are less than 1 in 100.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'll take that chance. I play poker.
Take the chance.
I
Yeah.
tell you, my chances are much better at poker than they are.
Okay.
So the losing to the IRS is very unlikely. And one of the things, remember, going back to
Yeah.
it, the IRS is people. They're not this monolithic, perfect establishment. They're people. They make mistakes. They can be talked to. They can be influenced. So be nice to them.
Be nice to them. I mean, just being nice goes a long way. Even if you probably get a butt on the phone, if you don't hang up, still be nice. It may
Yeah.
take you a little further than not being nice.
Just say, I'm sorry, I've got something that's come up.
Right.
I'll call back. Click, call back. Oh, hi. Talk
Yeah.
to the next one.
Just like it was all brand new. Are there financial red flags that entrepreneurs should look out when like they scale their business? Because we do talk to people that are beginning, but also want to be interested in scale their business. Are there financial red flags that come up when doing that?
Well, this is why you need to have a CPA that works with you, prepares your financials, goes over them with you, talks to you about them, so you can see the red flags. If you're a restaurant, you can see that your food cost is creeping up. If you have an establishment, you can see your utility costs are rising for some reason. That's how we figured out we had a water leak, because our water bill went up. Okay, we looked at it, we had a leak. We had a toilet that was running,
Okay.
so that was an extra $40 that month. Well, we got a plumber out there and we fixed it. So be aware of what's going on. The red flags will present themselves if you look for them. Now, of course, the biggest thing is cash flow.
Yeah.
You need to be aware of your cash flow, because cash is king. You run out of cash, you're out of business. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So cash flow is critical. You need to know what
Yes.
your cash situation is on an ongoing basis. For those who are starting out, I tell them, imagine every possible expense that you might encounter as you start your business. And when you have that number, double it, and you might be close, because there's things you'll never imagine.
Wow. Yeah. There's things that sneak in, and things start to add up, they start to double up, and then next thing you know, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yeah. And you talked about a CPA, getting a CPA. When should you get a CPA when you're starting a business? Like, when's the best time?
Before you start, talk to one, find one that understands the type of business you want to get into, because they will provide you. And normally you can talk to the first time for free. If the guy says, you got to pay me to talk to me the first time, find somebody else. And they'll give you hints and they'll give you help. And then if you like the guy and he's got the experience you want and you can talk to him and it's a good fit, he can help you create your business plan. He can help you create the prospective financials for the bank, for your financing, whatever. And he can help you set up your accounting system so you'll survive an audit if it happens, and set up your financial reporting so you'll know what's going on in the business. You just can't run it out of your wallet. It doesn't work.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. I'll be honest. That was the beginning for me. I was like, this ain't working. This ain't working. We gotta shift, and I want to grow, and this is not how to do it. This ain't how to do it. What's up, Thrival Journey listeners and watchers? Look, if you're someone with big dreams of entrepreneurship but need a flexible way to earn income while building your business, let me tell you about the Orions Group. Through our partnership with Arise Virtual Solutions, you can become a customer support professional, aka CSP, and start earning from home on your own terms. Arise offers a streamlined certification process, getting you trained and ready to work with well-known brands all across America. You can set your own hours, choose the clients you want to work with, and create a work-life balance that fits your entrepreneurial goals. The best part, you don't have to choose between your side gig and your business dreams. Being a CSP with the Orions Group means you can bring in extra income while have the flexibility to focus on growing your own venture, much like I did. Whether you're looking to supplement your income or need a bridge while building your empire, this is the opportunity for you. You interested? If so, head over to www.theoriansgroup.com to learn more about becoming a CSP with the Orians Group. Look at here. Support your entrepreneurial journey while supporting the Thriveable Journey podcast at the same time. All right, one more time, www.theoriansgroup.com. All right, we're done with the spot. Let's get back to the podcast.
Every business needs 4 advisors. They need a CPA for their financials and their taxes. They need a lawyer. As much as I hate lawyers, including my own, you need a lawyer for legal advice. You need a banker because you're going to have accounts, you're going to have money, you're going to have cash flow. You'll need a banker that you're going to work with. And you need an insurance agent that can help protect you from the vagaries of business and life and people who will try to steal money from you. The one thing to remember with these advisors is they are advisors. They don't run your business. Your CPA may, your lawyer probably will tell you how to run your business. Don't let them. Listen to them, listen to their advice, but it's your business to run. It's not theirs. They're not in it. They don't operate it day to day. They won't take the loss if you go out of business. They'll try to take the profit if you stay in business, but it's your business. Use them as advisors.
Yeah.
Don't let them run your business.
You know, it's really solid advice. CPA, lawyer, banker, and insurance agent, all advisors, right? Don't let them try to run your business. That's really solid advice. Okay. I think we have a little lag. I'll cut this part out, but I think we have a little lag between you and I.
We do.
We do? Okay. So after you speak, I'll give some little time so we won't overlap, but just let you know that I'm catching that little lag there. So, all right. So I'll just cut that part out and we'll just pick up where we left off here. So you have your business Get Payroll. And I know that, payroll is a big deal. So what does Get Payroll do for new business owners or just business owners, period?
What we do is we provide payroll services and payroll-related services for small businesses around the country. So you don't have to worry about what forms you need to file, when you need to file them, what you need to withhold, when you need to withhold it, when you need to pay it in, year-end forms, quarter-end forms, state forms, local forms. We do all of that, and we keep up on the changes in the law and advise you on the changes in the law as things change. So all you have to do is track, what the pay is for the people, the number of hours or the salaries. Let us know, and we take care of the rest so you don't have to. The example I've used for years about dealing with the IRS on this stuff is when I grew up, Pele was the world's best soccer player. But if you put him in a New York Yankees uniform at second base, he would be lost. He wouldn't know the game. He wouldn't know the rules. Pick up the ball with your hand. So when you have business people who are successful at what they do and provide a service or a product, and then you say, okay, now go deal with the IRS, they're Pele at second base. That's where we come in. We know the rules. This is our ballpark. In many cases, we know more than the IRS people we're dealing with. We study this. We study the law. We go to court.
There you go.
We pursue the regulations. We've been on the IRS Advisory Council dealing with the IRS problems, helping them solve them. This is what we do for a living. I can't do your business. I can't make your product. I can't sell your service. That's not my business. My business is dealing with the employment tax aspects of around the country for the local, states, and the federal government. And I know that backwards and forwards and know how to make it work for you. So let you.
Yeah. You know what? And as you were saying all that, I was like, you know what? This is someone you want to have on your team. Somebody who could do all that. And the person that's running the business don't have to worry about it.
Exactly. We all, I don't work on my own car. I don't mow my own lawn. I don't make my own clothes. I don't grow my own coffee beans. I outsource these things. Payroll is one of those things business should outsource.
Yeah.
Before I ever got into the payroll business, I outsourced it to my competitors now. But
Mm-hmm.
it's simple, it's easy, it's cheap. It's one of those hats that you can take off and hand off very early on. I don't ever recommend that a business do their own payroll unless they're a CPA or a payroll expert. And if you're an expert at it, well, fine, go ahead and do your own. We do our own payroll, okay? But if that's not your, that's
Okay. Well, yeah, it's definitely not mine. And so, and I'm letting the listeners know right now that, don't do your own payroll. If you have the money to go ahead and outsource it. And I looked at your website and everything and looked into all your services, and you look pretty good. So thanks for coming on, but you might have a new client over here. Okay. Just letting you know. So what's you have so much experience within the business world. What's one financial habit every entrepreneur should adopt?
wow. Well, track everything. I mean, and for entrepreneurs, that's going to be a hard thing. They tend not to be focused on the minutia. They tend to be big picture people. They tend to want to accomplish things. They want to be the next Elon Musk or Bill Gates. We all want to be there, but you've got to track the minutia as much as it's a pain in the ass. If you can't do it yourself, hire somebody that can. So you have the detailed records of what's happening, because that's your guide to whether you're successful or not. You may think the old saw, well, we'll cut the price and we'll make it up in volume. That may or may not work depending on what your margins are. You may be selling the hell out of something, and if you're selling it at a loss for every unit you sell, the more you expand sales, the quicker you're going down the tubes. So you've got to know what the details are. You've got to know the minutia. And if you can't track it, hire somebody that can. So your CPA can sit down with you and go through it and explain what's going on and what's happening, so you know where to put your efforts and make your business successful. You can't run it out of your wallet. You can't run it out of your pocket. It doesn't work. Too many people have tried it and failed. It just doesn't work. You've got to know what's going on.
That little bit right there can save people headache, time, and lost wages right there. You personally, what was a financial mistake that you made in your business, or did you? And did you recover from it?
Oh, I've made lots of them. I didn't start investing early enough, so I had to make up for it later. I'd be a hell of a lot richer if I'd put money away when I was a lot younger. That's the mistake that a lot of us make, is not staking out and saying this much needs to go for my investment, my retirement, for the future, regardless. That's a good habit to get into. I'll tell you one. When I started my business, since it was new, I could say I want to pay sales tax on an annual basis. So I did, because I didn't have to pay it quarterly or monthly. Well, the next January, the tax bill came in at $1,200. I went, oh shit, where's the money? So I immediately switched to paying my sales tax on a monthly basis, so I didn't get caught again.
Yeah, that's wild. But you didn't know, but you weren't aware at the time.
It seemed easy, so I took the easy route, and that was a mistake.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes the easy road ends up being the hard road.
Absolutely.
That's good. That's good advice as well. What's your approach to like making big financial decisions? And have you ever had to make those financial decisions under pressure?
I try very, very hard not to make decisions under pressure. I will walk away from things. I will say, we'll talk tomorrow. I try very hard. If they say, I've got to have a yes or no right now, no, I won't be pressured into doing things. I refuse to. I like to think things over. I like to take time. If they've got to have a decision today, no, I won't do it. I refuse to. Making decisions under pressure, you shouldn't do it. Just don't allow people to pressure you like that.
Yeah.
If they're pushing you for a decision right now, there's a problem. And the problem isn't with you. The problem is with them. Don't do it. Just say, no, I'll think about it. In negotiations, if you can't walk away from a negotiation, you've lost. Pure and simple. Any decision you have to make, if you can't say, I'm going to take time, you've lost. Don't do it. Don't allow people to put you in that situation. There's very, very, very few situations where you have to make that decision now. Get with your advisors. Get with your spouse. Think about it. Get a good night's sleep. Things look better when the sun comes up in the morning. Things that look dire in the evening, when you
Yeah.
wake up the next morning, you're going, well, it's not that bad. And it isn't. Your mind will make things worse. You'll get anxious. The chemicals in your body will stimulate in strange ways. And there's nothing like a good night's sleep to get a different perspective on things.
I totally agree. I think just through the years, I've learned that practice. I think with younger mindsets or beginning entrepreneurs, it's almost like a rush kind of identity. And I've learned just chill out, take a breather, step back if you need to, or if I need to, and then come back with, the full capacity of thought around whatever situation it is. And I've learned that over time. So,
Absolutely. And something for entrepreneurs to remember, and I've stolen it from Bill Gates, is that people will overestimate what they can accomplish in a year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. Entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's one step at a time. It's a long journey.
yes.
Take your time. You'll be amazed at what you can accomplish in 10 or 20 or 30 years like I have. I'm not as rich as I would like to be, but
Well, that goes, for a lot of people probably. And with all the experiences, now I know you offered something in the beginning. Is this the book that you wrote? It's not the book you wrote, the payroll book.
yes.
It's something different, right?
No, it's the payroll book that I wrote recently. The payroll book, a guide for small businesses and startups. And I'll offer it to your listeners free of charge.
Okay, awesome. How did that come along? Like, why'd you decide to write that book?
Well, I get questions all the time. And I looked around to see if there was a good reference guide that I could recommend to people. The only one I could find is the Payroll Source, which is from the American Payroll Association. It's $600, and it's really designed to train payroll people to become certified payroll professionals. It's not designed for business people. So I said, I'll write something. Well, 2 years later, I had something. Thank heavens for Wiley & Sons Publishing. They're a major publishing house. They took the book on. They helped make it a much better book than my previous self-published books were. So kudos to them and their expertise have made it a much better book. We've done very well with it on Amazon and in the bookstores and so on. So yeah, I refer to it as 30 years of wisdom distilled down to 95,000 words.
Wow. Well, that's a good deal. Anybody, like the people, my audience is listening, get that book and sign up so you can get that book because it sounds like it's full of treasures that will definitely help us in our businesses. Before we got on, we talked about life-work balance. And in the beginning, starting entrepreneurs think that's something that can be done. What is your take on that?
Well, as I was saying to you before we started, I was on a panel discussion once, and it was entrepreneurs and wannabe entrepreneurs, and one of them said, what about work-life balance? And I just cracked up. I started laughing. And I explained to the young lady that in the beginning for an entrepreneur, there is no such thing as work-life balance. It's work. If you want to be a success, you're going to have to put your heart and soul and time into making it a success. Now, in a few years, you can balance things out. But in the beginning, you have to focus on it. And I told her, if your partner doesn't understand that, your life partner, there will be problems. They need to be on board with the fact that you're going to put in 70, 80, 100 hours a week on a business that you own, that's yours. You're not working for Joe Blow. You're not working for the man. You're working for you and for your partner's future. So you put into it everything you have. Now, at some point, it starts to self-perpetuate, and you hire people, and you get staff, and you have cash flow, and you have income, and you can take a vacation. It took me about 10 years before I took a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first 3-4 years,
Yeah.
we're tough.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've learned is I have a tendency to want to keep things like, in order and correct. And it has one thing has to lead to another and some kind of flow. Well, owning your own business, it's not always that way because there's days when you wake up and things are just completely chaotic. Things don't flow at all. And so you become subject to everything else and you have no control. In that vein, what is your biggest piece of advice to entrepreneurs struggling with that idea or that issue that end up coming up?
Well, again, it's amazing what a good night's sleep will do. So when things get chaotic, step back, put it on hold for a day, go home, have a drink, get a good night's sleep. You'll be amazed at what happens. I remember very well, this happened a number of years ago. On a Saturday, I went in the mail was $25,000 of NSF charges on my bank account. The bank,
Whoa. Can you
yeah,
say that one more time?
$25,000 of NSF fees on my bank account. It's a
That's a
long
lot.
story, but one of my major clients we were doing ACH work for, and they had a limit, and the payroll was just over the limit for the first time, and the bank rejected it without calling the client. Didn't call me, just didn't put that money in my account, and everything started bouncing. Everything. And I sat there on that Saturday morning, literally not knowing what the hell I was going to do. And it's a good thing it was Saturday because had it been during the week, I probably would have gone and shot the banker, literally.
Thank goodness for weekends.
By Monday morning, I had calmed down and realized what had happened, called the bank, called my client. The client was extraordinarily upset, screamed at the bank, and it was the same bank. It was the bank I was using, and the client was using the same bank. 2 bank officers got fired over it because it was just absolutely unacceptable what they did. And so it all solved. And all the fees
Yeah,
were
I can
refunded
imagine.
and all the checks cleared and everything turned out. But in that moment, that dark, dark, dark moment, I'd have killed somebody. So that was Saturday. And by Monday morning, I was rational again. So sometimes, I say it's
Back to your right mind.
yeah, so, I say there's no work-life balance, but there's times you've got to step back and look at things and get a good night's sleep and let things process and talk to somebody. Because I talked to my wife about it. It's amazing what talking out a problem can do to it. It changes the problem. I've always said for years, the Catholics have it right. Confession is good for the soul. The fact that you talk about a problem to somebody, to your advisor, to your spouse, to someone, changes it. It's no longer internal, it's external. It forces you to look at it and analyze it in a different way than it just internally. And it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. To that point, I was just thinking that not too long before we started this podcast. It was like, I was like, man, it would be good to have a partner that, that I can talk to, when things are like just all in the mind or all internal about the business and whatever's going on throughout the day and just to kind of share it, just so it can be out in the world, not so much on the inside. So yeah, I was definitely thinking that. So yeah, you're right on point with that. So I know we got the lag, so I thought maybe you're going to say something. As we wrap up, what is like from all the experience that you've had, everything that you've offered the world, everything that you've offered the financial world as well, what is your biggest takeaway from all that experience and what is your biggest piece of advice that you can give to anyone listening right now?
Absolutely. There is no traffic jam on the extra mile. Go the extra mile for your clients, go the extra mile for your employees. You'll be amazed at the results you will get because your competitors won't.
That's great. That's great. I'm not even going to elaborate. I'm just going to say thank you for saying that. That's solid advice. Throughout these 40 minutes or so, like every step of the way, like you've given great advice, solid advice. And I want to appreciate you for, taking the time out, and we finally got to connect and be able to have this conversation. And I really want people to connect with you. And how does that happen? How can people get in connection with you?
We're on the web at getpayroll.com. My email is cjr@getpayroll.com. And if something quick, 972-3.
Charles, thank you so much for being here, being on the podcast. We'll probably ask you again to come back sometime in the future, if you don't mind,
My pleasure.
and share some more in-depth financial business, whatever comes up. I want to thank you. And to all the listeners, take the advice, send them your email so you can get that book, and, connect with us on Facebook on the Thrivable Journey podcast group. And as we always say around this time, make thriving your new normal. Charles, thank you again. I appreciate you being here.